Hi everyone, I'm Jody Barrows. Welcome to our third summer session. We're so excited to be here with you and to show you some new things that you can do in your sewing room and to let you know about some promotions and other things we have going on. Now, for those of you that are brand new to Square and a Square, I'm Jody Barrows. I have been sewing all of my life, quilting and teaching for over 40 years. My husband Steve is a retired pharmacist and he runs all of my cameras and my IT and the website and all of the different clubs, the technology that goes along with those. And so I always want to include him in what we do, because when you talk about technology or you email, some of the times you're going to be talking about Steve. So I want you to know Mr. Steve and that he is a great resource for us, and we really appreciate all of his help and knowledge and just ability to help us get our love of quilting out to you, because without him, none of this would be possible. So today we're going to talk about these two beautiful quilts. This one here we call We the People, and it's a star inside of another star. We kind of call this a crown shape. And then we have the same quilt over here in more of our oranges and blacks, and we call this one Moonlight Star. So we're going to get into depth about those today and tell you about them and how you can learn them and go watch more. And we're going to talk about our brand new book. So many of you have been waiting all year for our brand new book. It is called Bat Wings, Butterflies, and Dragonflies, and we're going to show you some stuff. So those of you that maybe have missed out on some of our spring semester work, or maybe you're brand new to us, then you'll know about that. And we're going to talk about some hen houses. And for those of you that are brand new, which we have just been growing leaps and bounds this year, we're going to go over the options, which are the triangle units. We're going to show you just how easy and simple it is and give you some summer homework. Now, we are in what we call summer sessions. So if you're wondering what we're doing, we do little quick classes like this during the summer, and then kind of a newsletter of what's going on. And we, behind the scenes, are working so very hard of sewing and prepping and making patterns and making videos, because we are working up to fall, which starts mid-August, full swing by September, and our Quilt Club Week. So Quilt Club Week is the last full week of September, and we will be building up every week for about 6 weeks before that to do teaching every week and to be telling you about what you're going to be learning in Quilt Club Week. It is a subscription. You do need to go to our website of squareandasquare.com or squareandasquare.net. On either one of our websites, you can sign up for Quilt Club Week if you're brand new and you haven't done that. Now, squareandasquare.net is our teaching website. So when you go to the teaching website of squareandasquare.net, we have an area that has our webinars in it, which is a class like this. And then we have a section that is our Quilt Club Week, which I was just talking about, the third week of September. And then we have our Premium Club, which we say goes all year long. It includes a fall semester, a spring semester, all of our summer classes, and then of course Quilt Club Week. So we are working all year. Sometimes you see us every week, and sometimes you'll see us with a little bit more time in between, but we are working all year, writing patterns, designing fabric, videoing, editing, all of that for you. Now, oh, there was something I was going to add to that, and it just flew right by. Don't you hate it when that happens? So I'm sure it will come back. We're going to talk about our Moonlight Stars and our book. But before we get into that, I wanted to let you guys know that this particular green fabric is called the Green 4-Star. We only have 3 1-yard pieces and 1 half-a-yard piece. So if you're thinking that you like this or that you want it, we just have a tiny little bit left. And since I design and bring in all of my own designs in fabric, we always let you know when we're getting close to the end of it, and we always hold some fabric back so that if you're working on a quilt and it's been a year, even 5 years, I think I've helped people with the fabric up to 8 or 9 years after the fabric was all gone and discontinued. We always keep a little bit back But this one has been out for 10 years, and the part that I've held back, I'm now releasing. And so either one lucky lady that orders all or a couple will get some of that green 4-star. And one of the great things about our fabrics is that you don't have to be worried about the quality or the dyes or any of that. It's top quality premium quilting fabric, and the dyes are very good. I never have any problem with the stability or any of my dyes, you know, doing things that we don't want them to do. You do need to remember, though, that when you do wash a quilt, that you need to take it out immediately. Don't let it set inside the drum of your washing machine. And it's okay, pop it in the dryer, you'll be fine. I love the way that it comes out all soft and kind of puckery a little bit. It just looks clean and fresh, and I love that look when it comes fresh right out of that dryer. Let's see. I have this whole stack. I show you guys the last few lives. I've showed you this whole stack. This is correspondence that we have with people from email and text messages. And it's a great way for me to help people, and it's a great way for a student and a teacher to communicate. You can send me pictures on the text line. We call it the Quilt Text Hotline. It's 817-713-2879. It's going to pop up here on the screen. Write it down. Anytime you have questions or need help, or you just want to show me something or chat with me about quilting something, feel free to do that. I have correspondence back and forth with several people, and then just the ones that pop in that need help and come back. And so it really helps me to understand the level of learning and knowledge that you have, how I can be a better teacher, and how I can help you more. So I really am enjoying the Quilt Text Hotline. And we did get an email the other day. I don't think I have it printed off, but the lady was talking about how she had worked with other people in the industry, and she talked about our customer service and our Quilt Text Hotline. And she just said no one out there does what you guys do in helping everybody and being able to reach somebody for help with their products or with any quilting question, basically. And so I really appreciate that, and I think it's important for you guys to know that, so that if we are brand new to you, you know that we're legit. We're not going to be gone tomorrow. We're here to help you learn, and we love it. That's what we do. That's just what we do. Now this one, this lady, it's brand new to Square and a Square. She just got her ruler. She opened it up. That comes with a little book that we call the Quick and Easy book, and it's got some patterns in it and some of the options to get you started, get you going. And she said, I'm so happy I found your simple technique for making my new quilts. I'm going to double this pattern in size. Thank you so much for sharing. And it was her first Square and a Square quilt that she made, and she shows a picture of it, and it looks wonderful. She did a great job. And it was about a baby size quilt, but that's a great one to start with when you're learning something new. And so I encourage you to do that. This one comes from a lady who's already on her second king size. She said, this is my second king size. It's all pieced together. It's ready to go on the long arm. I have learned so much. You truly can become the quilter you've always dreamed of. Believe in yourself and you will achieve it. Thank you, Steve and Jody. So I'm not going to go through and read any more of these, but you can see that that's a big stack. And people are excited about what they're learning, and they're gaining great skills and knowledge, and they're happy with the results of their quilts and of their projects. Now today in my demo, I'm going to do an option 1, which is the square and a square, which I think most quilters recognize, a square in a square. I'm going to do what we call option 3, which is a flying goose. And we have kind of a little survey going on our Facebook page right now, and it says on there, you know, what is your favorite option, or, you know, what's your favorite thing about square and a square. And it seems like majority of people talk about flying geese, is that that's what hooked them and that's what got them involved with square and a square. Now they do all of the options and make all of their quilts that way, but it was the option 3, flying geese, that actually got them going with square in a square. And so that's option 3, flying geese. And then we're going to do option 4, half square triangles. Now the reason why I pretty much always demo those is because those are the basic beginning. And once you know those and you understand those, then the rest of the 50 options, yes, 50 different triangle units that you can get, all with one tool. Think about that. One tool, One ruler does them all. There's a quilt that I'm actually working on right now in my sewing room, and if you made it using other systems or tools or techniques, you would have to buy 4 different rulers, over $100, plus a pattern, plus, you know, yada yada. And so I love it that I have one tool, one square and a square tool, that will make all of my triangle units. All of my work is perfect, it's smooth, it's flat, it helps remove the human element, and that's what I'm all about. Now, I'm going to tell you a little story, and it starts out like most stories. Once upon a time, there was a girl who loved sewing. She made all of her garments, her home deck, she made baby quilts and gifts, but she fell in love with piecing a quilt together. And she learned all those years ago that it wasn't easy and that she couldn't always make everything that she wanted to make, and it made her very sad. But she didn't sit in the corner and sulk and feel bad because she wasn't doing what she loved and that she couldn't accomplish what she knew in her heart that she could do. And she kept after it and kept after it and kept after it until that girl came up with what you're going to see today of the square in a square system. And that girl was me. I could not get my work to be smooth and flat. I could not fall in love with flying geese and half square triangles. I learned to look at quilts, and right away I thought, do I have the time to make it? Do I have the skill to make it? And the answer to all of that was no. And so I kept sticking with just little projects and little crafty things because I knew I could do that. But once I started doing the square and a square system, and I learned how to remove the human element, that girl, me, asked herself, she said, what is it that is not working? It's the cutting, the sewing, the pressing. Who's doing that? A human. A human isn't perfect. How can I remove that human element and still have the fun piecing something together and sewing? How can I remove that human element? How can I get smooth, flat work and nice, sharp points? And that's the square and a square system. And that's what I started developing. And when I just did one, then I tried another, and I tried another, and I tried another, and now we're up to 50 options. So let's look at once upon a time in a land far away, there was a little girl who decided she was going to figure out a better way. And I'm going to show you, and you can do it too. Just like the girl said in the text, you can become the piecer you've always wanted to be or dreamed of. It really isn't a fairy tale. So let's look over here at what we start with. And so this is what we call the basic square. You have a square in the middle, and you have strips on the side. And of course you can do any size and any color. Now, I tell you that you only need one ruler, and it doesn't matter which one you start with. We have what we call the small ruler. I love it. I use it probably 70% of the time. You can use it. You can use the original. And if you're new to the system and you're just getting started, this is always the one that we recommend. It will do all 50 options. It just does them all. And then we added the grande, maybe about I think it was right during the pandemic that we added the grande ruler, so 2020. And this one, we call it the multi-purpose because there's so much you can do with it. You can trim your options, you can cut that center diamond, you can do squares, you can do strips, you have a 9-inch square on the corner, and we have a video that I think is about 40 minutes long on the website. Squareandasquare.com is where all the books and rulers are at if you're wanting to order. And there could be a video with the product that will help you see more and learn more. And all of these rulers have the 90-degree angle on it, and that's what we're going to use when we work with the square. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to find the 90 on the ruler, and where 2 lines come together and touch, that's the 90. We're going to put the tip of the 90 right in the tip of that corner of your center square. See, everybody can do this. Everybody can cut squares and strips together. And we have videos out there that start at the very beginning with that and go through the different options. And you can make a little book, and we'll talk about that. But here's the 90 right in the corner. The black line goes right down the seam, and this grid line goes right through that corner, hand flat. Trim it up. Now, sometimes people give me grief about these little trim offs. Well, right here, I got a whole basket of trim offs that I'm going to show you how to go back in and reuse those. Then you just turn it and go to the next corner. Repeat. And since I've already cut over here, after I have this all lined up the way I want, I'm going to look at my fabric that's underneath the ruler, and I'm going to look at the lines on the ruler, and I'm going to see if they're nice and neat and parallel. Not that they line up on top of each other, but that they look neat and lay nicely next to each other. And just keep going around, repeating all 4 corners, checking the sides you've already cut, whether it's 1, 2, or 3. And here is your option 1. And I think it's obvious you leave that 1/4 of an inch off of all 4 of those corners, and that's your option 1. And we'll come back to these scraps and what we're going to do with them. Now, the very beginning one, option 1, square and a square. So a little bit of vocabulary. This is a basic square. Everything starts with your basic square. From the basic square, you can trim anything you want. Option 1, option 4, option 10, option 15. Just any option 1 through 50 you can trim up, and they all start out just like this. So that's your option 1. Then your option 3 is your flying geese. Now, to do your flying geese, you're going to do 2 opposite sides, leaving the 1/4 of an inch. So it's just like this. So 2 opposite sides. And we're not going to worry about color placement today, but in some of your designs with your flying geese, you do need to pay attention to your color placement and how you're trimming. So see how I've gone to the opposite side? I'm looking to make sure it's nice and parallel, everything lining up the way that it should. Now, on the other 2 sides, we're going to trim right up to that tip. We're not going to have that 1/4 of an inch. And oh my gosh, if you've been watching any of the reels on the Facebook pages and the social media, people really want to give me grief, not only about this, but that I'm trimming off and I'm losing my points. But stick with me here. This is not checkers, this is chess. And you're going to have to think ahead just a little bit. So what I do is I put the 90 in here and I step it 2, 1, 2. That's why we call it the Texas 2-step, because you step over 2 lines or 2 times. Now what this does is it moves our points and it creates a seam allowance in here where we didn't have it. So anytime you 2-step and trim sharp, you're going to come in here and cut it in half. And there I have my 2 perfect flying geese. So when I come back and sew a 4th and a 4th, right there is where my point will be. So see how we created a seam allowance and we moved that point because it has to move up that seam. And there we have our 2 perfect flying geese, just like that. Of course, you can do your stars, traditional flying geese. You can even do that for 1/4 square triangles. It's really great when you want 2 different colors in there to do it like that. I really like that one. So once you've learned that everything starts out like this as a basic square, square in the middle, strips on the side, you know how to do the 2-step. And you know how to do that 1/4 of an inch. That's all there is to it. So if you have any questions as we go along, make sure you get them in there. Steve will answer what he can, and ones that I need to answer, he'll get those to me so that we can do that. Now, these are the 2 main books. So we've talked about the rulers. Choose one or get them all. I use all 3. I love all 3. This is our main book, our reference book, and it says Volume 1, and it does the square. So that's options 1 through 17. This one does the diamonds, so that's options 18 to 39. And a diamond is anytime in your quilts, well, let's just look here at this one on the back. See that longer, thinner triangle shape here? That is option 18 to 39, and we start out with a diamond in the middle. So maybe you can see here on this one how we have a diamond shape in the middle instead of that square. We surround it with strips on the side. Same ruler, same tool. You do not have to buy another tool. And it has your 120s on it and your 60 on it. and that's what you use when you work with a diamond. Stay tuned this summer, and in our fall semester, we're going to be doing some of these diamond shapes in our project. So these are our two reference books, the one that works with the square, the one that works with the diamond. Now, if you're following any of our patterns in the book, we're going to tell you exactly what you need and give you all of your cutting and everything, just like a normal pattern for squares and strips and sizes. But maybe you want a different size than what we have. All of these represent different sizes. So we have over 30 quilt patterns. We have over 50 blocks. There's a lot that you can do in here. But we have, I think, 14 pages of charts. And one of the ladies was talking about this chart right here on our Premium Club Facebook page. And you know how you have a square in the middle, and you cut a strip, and then you go in here and cut your squares. It would be nice to know how many squares are in that strip. And a strip of fabric from selvage to selvage, we figure 40 inches. So off of that estimate, it says that if you have a 3-inch strip, so you just find the size in the column. If you have a 3-inch strip and you want to cut 3-inch squares, how many squares can you get out of the strip? And the answer is at least 13. You maybe can get another one depending on the exact width of your selvage to selvage of your fabric. So this here is a chart that we use a lot of here, how to help do your backs, how to figure your backs. How much yardage do I need for a back of a quilt? So this chart here, how to adapt patterns, your 4 patches and 9 patches. But these charts here are the ones that work with the options. So you always need to know what size of square to cut and what size of strips to cut. So when you get in there and get your option made or your flying geese, that they will turn out to be the size that you want. So flying geese is the one that people make the most of, and the one on the survey on Facebook that they're saying that they love and make the most of. So let's say that your flying goose is a sewn size. So the main thing to use the chart is to understand what a sewn measurement is and what a cut measurement is. If it has raw edges, it's a cut measurement. If it's completely sewn into a project with no raw edges, it's a sewn measurement. So it says to find the size you need on the chart and then just move across horizontally. It will tell you what size of square and what size of strips, and it's just that easy to use. And that's one thing that I do on the quilt text a lot, is people will tell me they need a certain size of a option. Most of the time it's flying geese. And so I can make a little video. I always ask them, do you have the reference book? And so I use the reference book. I make a little video. I teach them how to use that chart. And voila, they're going to get these beautiful, wonderful flying geese for option 3. So now that we've done our option 1 and our option 3 flying geese, let's do option 4 half square triangles. So let's get these up here because these are the main ones. So remember, everything starts out like this with a square in the middle, strips on the side. Leave the 1/4 of an inch on all 4, option 1. For the flying geese, you 2-step 2, leave the 4th, cut in half through the 2-step, you have your flying geese. So this is a clue. If you are cutting through that corner either now or later, then you need to 2-step. If you're not cutting through that corner, you leave the 4th. See, we didn't cut through these corners, so we left the 4th. We did not cut here or here, so we left the 4th. But we were cutting here, so we had to do the 2-step. So to do half square triangles, we're going to 2-step all 4 corners. So that means you put the 90 in the corner and you step it over nice and sharp. Make sure your grid line is going through that other corner. Repeat on all 4 sides because we're going to cut through all 4 corners. Now, another thing that I really love about making half square triangles like this, besides the no sewing on paper, no dog ears, no, stand on your head, do this, do that, I really like how I can get 4 different half square triangles because I like to do a lot of scrap quilts and multi-quilts, and this gives me a speedy method for making scrapping. So remember, up to the tip here and here, 2-step, two-step, 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 two-step on all 4. Now I'm just lining my ruler up through those points just like I did there. I'm using my grid lines to make sure I'm staying square, that my work is looking good. Now I want you to think about how nice and neat these look, how there's no dog ears, no papers to peel, no wonkiness, how I can get 4 different ones. And there's my half square triangles. So if I wanted to do a pinwheel, look how this is my pinwheel, just like that. So it'll just do everything. It's very versatile. And that's just the tip of the iceberg of what you're going to get. Now, this is our, what we call our option overview book. And this page is a page you can download so that you can put it in your own little notebook and work on your book. But just because we're not doing a live every week and every Monday doesn't mean that you don't have homework to do and things to learn. Because since we've been online now for 18 semesters, we keep building, building, building. You need to go back, if you're new, to the beginning of some of this and take some of this time to learn the basics, to understand what a two-step is, to know what a flying goose is and how to do it. This is your opportunity so that when we do start teaching every week again in August, you'll be ready to go, and you're going to go much faster when you spend your summer doing a little bit of summer school. So this is what we call our option overview notebook, and you can watch the videos for this on our teaching website of squareandasquare.net, and you can also download some papers. If you need help with that, just email us at squareandasquare.com. So we go through and we make about 20 of these basic squares, and then we learn how to trim up the option 1, and there's videos to go along with this. And if you've been watching any of the reels on the social media that we've done in the spring and now, then we are taking little clips of that reel and showing you, you know, 60 seconds of something. But in the main videos that you can find on .net, you'll see it from beginning to end. So option 2 is just when you sew around it again. Option 3 is your flying geese. Make a couple of little samples and put them together and put those in your notebook. Option 4, half square triangles. When you put a lot of half square triangles together, that's the firefly. Learn how to do multiple triangles all at one time. And then part of this shape right here is part of the fireflies. Look at the half square triangles with the bear paw and this little Milky Way star. And this little star is what's in the quilt as a setting square that we're going to show you for the moonlight. So just start working on your book. Get some little plastic pages and some cardstock, and get started working on your notebook this summer. And in the .net, in the webinars, there's tons of stuff. This shape right here is the hen house. We're going to show you some hen houses over here. Look at these beautiful hen houses. All of this, this is the diamond shape. You don't have to shy away from quilts because there's shapes that you think are hard or very time consuming to put together. You'll be totally amazed at how quickly it goes. So start working on your notebook. Okay, let's look at our Moonlight Star and our patriotic one. So both of these are the same. If we can look at both of these a little bit. Just come on over here so we can see a little bit of both, as much as we can of both. Okay, so this one is Moonlight Star, and we have a kit for it. It's a very large quilt. If you want a smaller one, just email us and we can help you with those fabric sizes so that you can make a smaller one. Now, Moonlight Star we did in December of last year, and we called it a marathon. So we did 2 hours of the morning, we did 2 hours in the afternoon, and then the following day we did 2 hours. So we taught this in a 6-hour class, and this is 6 solid hours of teaching. It's not just do this and then we sit here and wait 2 hours for you to get caught up. So you can go to that, and I think we even have a link. Do we have a link for the Moonlight class?
It's on the webinar, so they'll have to sign up for webinars.
So you go to squareandsquare.net, sign up for the webinars, and you can find the Moonlight in the webinar.
2025.
It was December.
It's in both, but
It's in 2024 and 2025.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. And so you'll learn a lot. In fact, I got a text just this week from someone who said, I am watching the Moonlight Star again for the second time, and she said it has got so many tips and hints, and she said you share so much with us as you're sewing that it helps us become a better quilter. So it's more than just here's your basic square, chop it up like this, and then sew your star together. So you can really hone your quilting skills, your piecing skills, and get in there and become a better quilter. Build up your confidence, and then you won't shy away from looking at some of these quilts. Now, this one here is the same pattern, same everything, just different fabrics. And this one we call We the People. And of course, from Memorial Day to Labor Day, everybody thinks red, white, and blue and patriotic and celebrating those different holidays from Memorial Day to 4th of July to Labor Day. And this one is made with our patriotic fabrics, and this one is the smaller size. I did this one smaller. I used the We the People, which comes in several different colors. I used the Eagle Vine. I used this one here that's called Celebrate. It goes from 1776 to 2026, so next year we will have our 250th birthday for America. So we want to be able to make some patriotic quilts. Quilting has always celebrated history and has always been a part of our nation and our country. So we want to continue on with quilting being a big part of that. And this one here, the fabrics are getting very, very low on. I can only do a few more kits for this because once a certain fabric gets gone, I don't want to send a kit out that has something different in it than what you see in that picture. Now, all of these are my own fabric designs. You won't find them anywhere else. So this Eagle Vine right here is getting very low. If you're wanting some Eagle Vine, you need to get in there and order it on the website. And then our red check is basically gone. You cannot order the red and dirt check on the website. I only have some back that are in those kits, and so when those are gone, those are gone. And there'll be some a great substitute that we can put in there, but I always like everyone to be able to know what they're getting in their kit and whether there is a substitution or whether it's just exactly like you're showing. Now, another reason why I'm showing this is because this is going to go home with a grandson in July to a country far, far away, 8,000 miles away, to go on in his new bedroom on his new bed. So I'm excited for him to have that. And there is also, did we have this sheet that has the fabrics on it for We the People?
No, but they have a link to see it.
Okay, so you have a link to this sheet.
It goes to our website.
And it goes to our website. So Steve, maybe you can put the camera down here on our sheet, and we'll just go over it. So it's the fabric. So
Move it a little bit.
yeah, wherever you zoom, I'll move it.
You're going the wrong way.
Okay.
Come back to your left.
Well, I see it perfectly on the monitor. Is it not showing up? Okay, so we have We the People in the big queen size, which is 98 by 98. And just in case you have some of the fabrics in your stash and you just need to pick and choose what you need. The tan eagle is 5 yards, and then the black We the People 4, red tone on tone flag 2, the new Celebrate 2, the red and dirt 2. But if you don't have it in your stash, the only way to get that is in the kit. And then the backing, it's a big quilt, so you have a lot of backing. And then on the smaller size, which is 70 by 84, which is like a big twin, small full size, you have 4 yards of the tan eagle, 3, 1, 1, 1, 1, and then 5 yards for backing. So, and then of course that would be the same yardages for the other one, but I don't have the fall looking one, the moonlight one. I don't have that information for you today on the fabrics, but if you need more help with that, if you're not ordering a kit and you just want to kind of pick and choose, just email us and we'll help you with that. Okay, so let's look at the blocks let's look up here at the quilt. So here you can see how we have the star with the flying geese on the outside edge and just a plain square in the middle, and we did that for our borders on both quilts. And then we have our little Milky Way star or friendship star where we've used our half square triangles on there. And that's our sashing and our cornerstones that make this. I love having this additional little star here in the quilt. And then we have used some flying geese around the outside edges, a star on the inside with a 4-patch. So we've already done our flying geese, we've already done our half square triangles. Let's see how the 4-patch tool works, and let's do a 4-patch. Now, when I think about quilting, I think about all of the different triangle units that you need, all the different triangle units that you need for a quilt. And then the other thing that you have in a quilt is when you have just squares coming together, whether you have a lot of squares and patches like we do here in the Carnival Star, or whether you're just doing a 9-patch, traditional 9-patch, or a 4-patch. And so I like to know, I want something like I talked about, remove the human element with the triangle units. I want to do that with my squares and with my patches. And you may think, they're just simple squares. What makes them difficult to do? So if you're doing a 4-patch, you have 4 squares, and each square has 4 sides. So you're having 4 sides to cut, you're having 4 sides to sew, and you're having some pressing in there. So that's your human element, the cutting, the sewing, and the pressing. And if you've ever gone in and put 2 strips together and started chopping them up and then start sewing them together, you have pieces that are too long and you don't know, well, are they long and I can trim it off and that's okay, or is the long one the good one and the short one is going to make it too short and then I'm not going to have enough fabric? You don't know. So I wanted a tool that I could use so that when I lay it on there to make my cut, I know instantly, immediately, right then, is it good? Is it fudgeable, meaning I can get it to work, or is it not going to work at all? It's going to cause trouble. So it's kind of like this one, you have one that's good, one that's fudgeable, one that's not good. And that one that's not good is going to cause trouble with everything else. So I want to keep him separated away. And when I'm ready to handle trouble, then I know that that's it. When I work with the good ones and the fudgeable ones, then I know that they're all going to work together, and it speeds up my sewing and it makes my work neater, nicer, and me happier. So I just have some little pieces here, but let's look at how the 4-patch ruler works. So basically for a 4-patch like that, you need a section of orange and background. So this would be a long strip. See how it would be a long strip that goes on, and then you would have your other color of strip that goes on, and you come in here and you cut these sections out, and then you hope that these all fit together the way that you want them to, so that you can have a nice 4-patch block. So cut your strips the way that you normally do, and then this is your 4-patch tool. So let me put it down here and explain to you what is happening on here. Okay, so it has this right here that says width of cut strip, so that's what these numbers are, width of cut strip. These numbers here are the size when you have it sewn together like this, where you have one seam down the middle, and this one right here is the cut size of the patch. So if this is the patch right here, it's the cut size of it, which we know is the larger size, that when it sews down to be a little bit smaller. So what if I had leftover pieces or a jelly roll that was 2.5 inches, so that would be the width of my cut strip. So I would come in here and find it 2.5, and see how it's inside the lines? I call this a railroad track. So when you come around like this and you see this number of 4.5, that's going to be the cut size of my 4-patch. So I can know when I have this strip really quickly what size of patches mine will be. So it's a design tool. You can also work backwards. Let's say that you have a 6-inch block or something, and you're thinking, oh, I would like to put a 9-patch next to it. What size are my strips? So if you wanted a 6-inch sewn, 6.5 cut, here's your 6.5. See, it says cut size, 6.5. Stay inside the little railroad tracks, work backwards, and it tells you here what size of the strips for you to cut so that you can get your 4-patch to be that size. So when I cut with it, I turn it vertical. I'm right-handed, so I'm going to turn it like this. If you were left-handed, you just turn it the opposite way. And this heavy grid line here, I'm going to put it down that seam. And then I'm not going to look at numbers, I'm just going to look at lines. So here you can see how I put that heavy grid line right here, and then I'm going to push it down. See, this line right here is matching up with fabric. This line right here is matching up with fabric. So see this one right here where it touches and connects? I'm going to push it down. And then I'm going to make my cut right here. Now what this does is it gives me the width that I need. And it lets me know with these lines, is it good from here to here? So a cut edge with a sewn with a cut. And the other thing that I love about the 4-patch or the 9-patch tool is that it keeps it straight. Now, if you've done very many and you go in here and cut, and you're just using a regular ruler, this is going to start to shift. It's going to shift, I'm exaggerating, but see how it shifts to the left? And see how it shifts to the right. And you may know that the width is good, but you don't know from here to here, is it good? And from here to here, is it good? So see how I can put the ruler on here one time, and it tells me everything I need to know. It's going to keep it straight. The width is good. It's good this direction. It's good this direction. I make my cut. It goes in the good stack. Now, if it comes outside of this line, then that means it's too big. I can trim it up and get it to work. But if it comes inside here, then it's going to make it too short and it's not going to fit. So as I'm picking these up to sew with, I know right away I'm picking them up out of my good stack. I'm picking them up out of my fudgeable stack, or the stack that I say doesn't play well with others, gets way over there, and I don't mix them in with here. I'll do something different with them. But this way I can get my nice 4-patch block, and it just helps make everything go faster and neater and smoother. Do we have any questions from anyone?
We have one from earlier. Let me find it. Here it is.
Okay, let's see. Can you speak to folding a quilt? Yeah, Carrie, I can. When you fold a quilt, and I've done this in past lectures, and if you're part of Premium Club, if you go to the beginner module, I'm going to have a lot more in there. But I have quilts that are 200 years old, quilts that are 100 years old, quilts that 100, old quilts. And the quilts can be in really good pristine shape, except where they're folded. My mother was very cautious about not using a quilt. She wanted to keep the quilts for good. She valued them. She didn't want to use them. She kept them folded. And even though the quilts were barely ever used, they start to wear in that folded area. And I have one quilt that I've shown multiple times. It's a beautiful quilt. I think it's close to 200 years old. It's red and white and these beautiful long triangles. But right in that first and second fold is where the quilt is wearing out, and even part of the middle, right in the middle, I mean, the fibers are just gone. So first of all, quilts need to be, if you can, I have an extra bedroom, I keep it dark, and the extra quilts, I just let them lay out on the bed. They just need to lay out in a area where they'll stay clean and no sunlight. And vacuum them or dust them with those little Swiffer things to pick up the dust, and try not to fold them. If you do fold them different directions. And keeping a quilt in a cedar chest is not the right place to keep it. A quilt is cotton, it was alive, it needs fresh air, just not sunlight. We want to be careful with sunlight on us, and we want to be careful with sunlight on our quilts. It will age us and it will age them. But if you do have folded quilts, try to fold them different directions and refold them often. What is often? At least once a year. Try to refold them. So it's very easy just to come in here, you know, and take a quilt and fold it in half, you know, and then fold it in half and then fold it in half. I mean, that's just kind of common to do. But every one of those folds, and especially those first two, are going to get the most wear. I like to, I have like big crocks. I have quilt racks. I have like, I don't know how. I have one quilt rack that has, I think, 35 quilts on it. It goes all the way up the wall. But I try to refold them on those quilt racks and protect them from the sun. There's one time of the year that the sun will come in on that big rack, and then just try to refold them differently. So like, for example, on this one, you can already see those folds down the middle and on the quarters on the side. But if you'll come in here and fold it in a third, so even on a big quilt, try to fold it in a third, and instead of going vertical, maybe go horizontal. Like instead of going this way in a third, then go the opposite way and do a third. And then instead of folding again, let's put the camera down here on the table. So here, then fold it in thirds again, and then you can store it like that. And I like that because there's no raw edges and it looks pretty wherever you're setting it or however you're using it. But also you can, and I do this with my big quilts, I just roll them, not too tight, just roll them. And then you can set them up on a shelf like a book. I have some that sit up on a shelf like a book. Like this, you can just set them up on a shelf. I have a couple up on my fireplace like that. Or you can put them in a basket or a crock, and they're just rolled, and that will help it not have as many creases in it. So hopefully that helped and answered a question. Okay, of course, if you have one that's, you know, highly prized and it was in the home of George Washington or something, then there are other curating types things that you can do for that quilt.
Here's a related one. I'll go to it first.
Okay. Would it be better to roll your quilts or hang them up on a hanger? When they're on a hanger, hanging up on the wall, that fabric is going to drag and pull, especially if it's a big quilt. So maybe if it's one that you can kind of rotate. I do have quilts on the wall where I fold like in a third and then put over, and it's only hanging, you know, in half one time. And I rotate them out. I think the main thing is to just keep them moving, just like we need to keep moving. Keep your quilts moving so that they don't get arthritis in their joints. Another question. How do you press the 4-patch if using light and dark? That's a good question, Mindy. Now, when people ask me questions, I have to go back a little bit as to why there are quilting rules that we had 40 years ago and why we have quilting rules now with our modern technology and things that we do different. Used to, the rule was that you always pressed to the dark. And the reason why was because their light fabric was not the same quality of fabric. But in the 2000s up, so in the last 25 years, actually probably about 97, 98, our fabric started improving significantly with our dyes and our colors and how we use our fabrics.
Quilt shop fabric.
So, you know, we're talking about the quilt shop quality fabric here. So our lights are the same, what they call gray goods. Our lights now are the same quality as our darks. And so we don't necessarily have to worry about pressing to the dark. Because see, when that light fabric was thinner and it was more of a muslin and not the same quality, that dark would show through, and that's why they did it. Now also, because everything was hand pieced, they pressed both seams to one side and to the dark. But now that we use a sewing machine, we don't have to worry about pressing because it gave both seams to the same side. It gave durability to the quilts, and as the people used their quilts and sat on them on the bed and everything, if they pressed them open, it would pull apart that hand stitching. But now with the sewing machine, we don't have to worry about that. We can press open. And I would say over the last probably 3 years, I have gotten to where I press everything open except an option. So the options, let's just look down here at these blocks and let's see what I did. So this is the basic square. So this is what your options, your triangle units come from. I always press with that center square flat and the seams going out and away no matter how many times we're sewing around it. Now, when I get my triangle units and I sew them together in sections, now these sections I will press open. So here you can see how this option is pressed flat, and even here and here, but when this was sewn to this and this to this, see how I pressed open. And I do a 4-patch pop sometimes on my 4 patches, not always. I kind of got in a social media bug tussle with a lady that was giving me grief about doing a 4-patch pop. She didn't think that it would move your fabrics the way you want to. Now the reason why we do a 4-patch pop is so that you don't have a knot right here. And especially if you're doing a table runner or something, if you set a cup or a glass on here and it's not straight, it could tip. So here you can see how now this one I didn't. I just pressed it both to the other way. Okay, more questions. These are great. I'm glad you guys are asking questions.
I think it's just Rhoda quilt.
That's a pretty green on the back of the quilt. What is it? Let's see if it might be one of mine. Yes, this is one of my fabrics here. This one is Carnival Star, and we're just going to move. If you have any questions about the Moonlight Stars, just holler at us, and if you want the kits, go get them, especially this one because it's very, 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 very limited. And go in and watch the 6-hour class in the squareandasquare.net, okay? Now, the next goodies I want to tell you about is our brand new book. That's part of this. I haven't forgot. I'm getting there. He's trying to keep me on track. So the next thing I want to tell you about is our brand new book called Bat Wings, Butterflies, and Dragonflies. If you were part of our premium club and our semester, then we were teaching that for 12 or 15 classes from January to May. We were teaching that this year. There are 4 brand new options. So we have 49, 48, 47, 46. I think we start with 46 on our new options. And those are in a book. And the book is on the website. You can order it now. You can go in now. It's live. And I will do a video just on the book closer to the end of the month. And we will start shipping the end of the month. So this one here is Carnival Star, and we do have kits for this. And this, the top of the quilt is just scrappy. Some of these fabrics you can go in and order that are mine, but some of them were just out of my stash or bolts that we had. And so if you want a kit, you can order it just like this, or you can order it in the Paradise fabric. But your question was, what is this one on the back? And this one is what we call Green Fuzzy Leaf. If you want to get the camera here for us, Steve. This is our Green Fuzzy Leaf, and you can get it on our website. And actually, we are getting down to the very end of this one, too. There's just a little bit in regular inventory, and then my back stock. So this one is almost on the endangered list. It's definitely a watch. So if you like this one, it's the Green Fuzzy Leaf. It came in a red, and then it came in a light. The light one is gone. It sold out immediately. And then the red one is down too. The red one in this, or the green. If you want them, you need to get them. They're just about all gone. So for those of you that are new, we do I do my own fabric designs. I do at least one a year, maybe 6 or 9 months apart. Our last one was last fall, and this week I'm doing the final on the new fabric, and it will be here this fall, and we do promotions on it. Now, when we get our fabric, when it's brand new in, that's when we do our promotion, that's when we do our sale, and that's always the best price. And so you for sure, when we do our fabric promotion of our new fabrics, make sure you order it then. And sometimes they sell out. Sometimes it sells completely out, and it's gone. That's what happens when it sells out. And then, oh, this is the fuzzy leaf one too. I forgot about this one. We had one that was a little bit more white, and this one has a little bit more yellow in it. And this one is the fuzzy leaf, like the green. And this one is pretty much as good as gone. So if you're interested in any of it, yeah. So there.
And what's it called?
I think it's listed as tan, maybe / yellow fuzzy leaf.
Yellow.
And then here you can see it in the green and the tan. Okay. Okay, so I want to show you just a little bit for those of you that are brand new. If you're part of Premium Club, you've seen the bat wings, the butterflies, the dragonflies, and all of that. So this, just to kind of so that you can see what's in the book, it's almost 80 pages. 6 or 8 quilts, 6 or 8 blocks. The Carnival Star, you saw it in the, can we have our camera down here, please? We have our Carnival Star, which was that one quilt I was showing you on the back. That's one of them, completed pattern, exactly what to cut and how to put it together. And then these little notebooks are, I always recommend my students to make these, and these are my teaching ones. These are just folders with brads that you can get off of Amazon, and then these are little pockets that you can put your pieces in, and they have the 3-ring hole punch in them so that you can put them in with your book. So this is the bat. Let me see if I have a bat finished here. I don't. The bat is, let's just look at the shape real quick. The bat is when you have a flying goose with an extra square in it. That is the bat. And we did the carnival. Let's look at it here in the actual, here you can see it. So it's like a flying goose, and it has that extra square in it. And how we make, you know how you saw 2 flying geese, 4 half square triangles, you actually get all 4 of these out of your block, out of your option that you do. That's the carnival. And then we had the Rick Rack block, and you can see here how we have that same flying goose with the extra square inside. So that's the bat. We put 2 together, and look at that beautiful Rick Rack block. And that one was a 16-inch. And then we had, gosh, 12 or 15 classes covering all of this. And so here's your butterfly star. So your butterfly is, once again, like a flying goose. But see, instead of just a plain square here, you have 2 triangle units. So that's your butterfly, your new option with your butterfly. And then look at your star with that. Just adds so much more to your stars. And it's not extra work at all. And then we had our prairie butterfly quilt, which is at the quilter. I'm not sure exactly when I'm going to get it back, but I'll show it to you as soon as I get it back from the quilter. And that was a full pattern for a prairie butterfly. Here's the block. So you can see how we use the butterfly here on the sides of the block. And then we had the dragonfly, and I have some more here I'm going to show you with the dragonfly. But let me see. If you can look at the black wings right there with this extra going on inside, that was the dragonfly. And we had several dragonfly quilts in there for you. And then I want to point, I'm going to show you some samples here, but I want you to look at this one up here on the quilt rack behind me. So this one here is the one with the dragonflies. So you can see these are all the dragonflies, and look at this motion and movement that you have through the quilt. So this is like the same little star that we did, our flying geese, and then we just used the pinwheel in the middle. You saw me do the pinwheel earlier. And then we just used these dragonflies. And so if the camera will come over here and look at these, and I'm going to get a couple of these out so that you can see the progress of the dragonfly. I'm really, really loving the dragonfly, and we're going to do quite a bit of the dragonfly in the fall semester class. So look, if you put like two sections together, look, you can kind of see a little bit of a heart, but see how you just get that motion and that movement going. And then this is a little text message from someone. It said, "Hi Jody, I enjoyed the workshop yesterday so much," and we were doing the dragonfly. "It's always amazing that after 10 years of doing square and a square, I'm still learning so much. Every time I think I have learned it all, you come up with something so exciting and new. The dragonfly is awesome. I love the look of the difficulty with little effort in making it." And that's what I love so much, is that it looks difficult. All of it looks difficult. But with the square and a square system, we make it very, very easy for you. There was a text I got just the other day, and the lady was showing her husband two different quilts. And she was like, "Which one should I make?" She was excited about making a new project. And her husband said, "Oh, I don't know which one's the easiest." And she kind of looked at him and she goes, "Silly man." She said, "With the square and a square, they're all easy." And I love that, and I'm so glad that she sent that to me and told me that. Okay, so just real quick, we're going to look at what we have to do a dragonfly. Remember, I said that you've learned everything you needed to learn with learning the two-step and how to leave a fourth. So let's look and let's see our dragonfly. So we start out with our square in the middle. Let's zoom out just a little bit. These dragonflies are big, so we'll need a little bit of room. Square in the middle, strips on the side. This is our basic square. We trim, leaving the 1/4 of an inch. And then for the next step, see how we want to sew around it again. And this time when we trim it, we do the two-step on all four. So then, after we have it on all four and trimmed up, then we sew around it again. Now, on the very first one, we left the 1/4 of an inch on all four corners. So when we come back and sew these on, you can see how we get our nice sharp point here, 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 and here. And then here we did the two-step. So when we sew these on, see how it leaves that blunted area right there? But that's our seam allowance. This should be a 1/2 inch, because you need a 1/4 of an inch to go on this side of that triangle, and you need a 1/4 of an inch to go on that side of the triangle. So when I get ready to trim this one up, I'm going to leave that 1/4 of an inch on all four corners. Then I'm going to come in here and cut like an X. I have one here, so we're just going to go ahead and cut it because I want you to see. Because these dragonflies are just so super amazing and fun. Okay, so we want to leave that 1/4 of an inch. So I'm going to use my grande, and I'm going to use the blue lines and just put that 90 right in the corner, just like I did with my smaller one. And I'm going to trim these up. Now see, because we've sewn around and our block got big, look how big these are. We want to save them. And I'm going to show you in this basket right here what we're going to do with those. And we're just going to continue to go around. So I'm just putting the 90 in the corner, lining up my blue lines, checking my grids, checking over here where I've already sewn. And as you go around, keep your block square. Look where you've already cut. So I'm looking here and here, making sure that I'm staying as balanced as possible, because this outside is very important that you keep the outside square. So 90 right in the corner, lines over your seam, check where you've already cut, staying as square as possible. Okay. So now there's a 1/4 of an inch line here on the edge of your ruler. All of your rulers have it. So I'm putting the 1/4 of an inch line right off of those points, because that's going to be my seam allowance. And then looking to see how it goes off in those points. Now you may see this one that's blunted, but I'm going to show you how it's going to work. You don't have to worry about that. Okay, so cut one direction, don't let it move. Repeat for the other direction. And what I have is what we call option 13. Kind of when you're at an angle, sometimes you don't get as good of a cut. So here you can see there's my option 13. So there's my 13. So look how your strips that you put on the color stay there. They don't divide and go into another color. And now I want to put my wings on here. So here you can see how I put my dragonfly wings. So I will just sew the strip on each side and then come in here and cut my, let's just go ahead and cut it. So I need my 1/4 of an inch off of my point here. And so I put it in the corner, line it up, check it. Now these are nice and big too, so I want to save those. And then I'm just going to come over here and match up the point and the top. And there's my dragonfly just like that. So I only have one, I think, where this one I need to trim the top. But see how you can just sew them together like this and get double points of a star. I've got several projects going with this, and we showed several in Quilt Club Week. But it's just really, really fun and super amazing what you can do with the dragonfly. Now, if you have any questions, get those in. I'm going to show you the hen house and what I'm going to do with these trim offs, and then we're going to be done. So if you got some questions, then get them in there. Okay, so this is our, do we have questions? Okay, this is our hen house book. And you can see this shape right here of it being the hen house. And I'll show you the hen house here. Well, let me just go ahead and show you. I'm kind of jumping around here. But here are some hen house. This is one of the patterns that's in the hen house book, and this is one of them. And what I love about the hen house is it allows you to take little scraps and pieces and go in and make this block, and the beauty of it is just so amazing. I love these little hen houses, and I can't wait to do more with them. They're very addictive to do. But this shape right here, this square, that's the hen house right there. And then, so we just made 3 flying geese, just like we did here. Put 3 of them together, 1, 2, 3, and see how it's a rectangle. And just like we had the square and put the strips around it, now we put the strips around that rectangle. We did light, 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 and then here we did dark. And you put your 90 in the tip and trim it up, and that is your new block right there. And just lots of fun different ways. And I love how you get motion and movement and curves or circles whatever you want to call them, in there. So from the hen house, basically we made the hen house book to show you how to use up your scraps and your pieces that you have left over. So in the making of these dragonflies, I have these. Well, if I know what I'm going to do with them, then as soon as I get them trimmed off, like I did here, then I'm ready to start putting them on. So let's look. So here are some dragonfly shapes that need their bigger pieces sewn on, so you can see how I always keep my stuff organized. Here you can see some of the color pieces that I've trimmed up, so they're in here ready to go. If I have some light colored squares, then I can make my basic squares here. And then here were some scraps that I had. See how I have them, and that's what the center is. So these are going to be, these that I trimmed off of my big dragonfly are going to go into the beginning of my next dragonfly. So I have my squares, and this is what they look like with the little scraps put on. So see, instead of putting strips around, see how you can put your little scraps on, and then that's like a strip on two sides. So here you can see these. I've already pressed these. And see how these can be trimmed into anything, whether it's flying geese, half square triangles, if I want to make more dragonflies. So when I get all four sides on, look at this whole stack that I have, all from my little trim offs. And let's trim it. Let's see what it looks like. So you're going to do it just like you do when you have strips. So my 90 is going to go in the corner. I line my lines up just like I did at the very beginning. So see, these were leftovers from that previous, but now that's all I have that's going to go in the bin. So, you know, people on my Facebook page will give me a hard time about the trim offs and the scraps, but I want you to look at everything you're using, and that's all that you have. I always tell people, think about or chess, not checkers. So there it is when I left the 1/4 of an inch on all four sides, and that's what I would need to do to go back in and add my colors, and then to go back in and add my other ones. So you just, it's kind of like that, that bread dough that you make, that sourdough, where you always have to have a starter. It's like that you have a starter. So I want to see, so some of these that we trimmed off, we need color to be our next row. So you can see if these are big enough to sew on. Some of those bigger, so the wing, the part that I trimmed off for the wing, that's the bigger ones. So they'll work going around for that second time. These are a little small. They need to go on something else. But the bigger wing ones that I trim off just go back into the next one. So by the time you get done, you know, recycling and using and moving everything to the next project, you pretty much use it all. Now, I have these out here on the table because the Prairie Butterfly quilt that's in the BAT book, this is all I had left over after I went back in and used everything for the border and for the next blocks and so on. And then there's another quilt, you can see it on the website, it's called Abby's Wedding Quilt, and this is all I had, my scraps or my leftovers from those. So I think it's just all your perspective. I always wonder, are you looking at your cup half empty or half full? You know, I see beautiful blocks, I see beautiful quilts. I just keep recycling till there's nothing left, and I'm very, very happy with the Square and Square system. I wouldn't still be doing it and teaching it for 40 years if I didn't love it and if I didn't have lots of followers. And if you're on my Facebook page, we just flipped over to 58,000 followers just yesterday. So we have a lot of people doing Square and Square, and I want you to be a part of the fun and the beautiful quilts. I always say it's fast, fun, fabulous, and finished. So do we have any last minute
We do have one.
questions? If doing a 16 patch, would you do pop or flat? I think you can do 4 patch. I mean the pop, I think you would do at least 4 of them. We do have a quilt called the Postage Stamp Star that is 4 patches that go together in the middle, and I did do 4 pops on it. I didn't do it everywhere. You could try it, see if you like it. That's the main thing. If you like it and it works for you, keep doing it. You know, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, and you're not getting it. And that's where I was at before I started doing the square and a square, is I kept trying and trying. I just thought it was me. I thought if I just stood on my head just right, held my tongue just right, you know, then I could get those perfect shapes, the size that I needed them to be, my smooth flat work, my nice sharp points. But I realized it with just all the human element, just how difficult it really was, and that's why I pursued and did the square and a square. And I love it that one ruler, one tool does it all. So remember the Quilt Text hotline. It is 817-713-2879, and we'll be happy to help you there. I get to you as soon as I can. Sometimes I'm holding it and helping someone when another message pops up, and I jump right on over to that. That happened yesterday. But if I check it in the morning and at night, you know, and you did it after I checked it, then you may have to wait a while. But anyway, we're here to help, and we'll get to you just as soon as we can. Remember our teaching website, squareandasquare.net, where there's hundreds of hours. Just because I'm not live every day, there's hundreds of hours that you can go in there and watch. And come join our Quilt Club Week. Come join our Premium Club, where quilting never sleeps, and you'll just continue to get better and better. We've got a question. How do you get a perfect square at the start? Well, you need to look at all 4 sides, and I think I have something that I can help you with. So are you talking about the square that goes in the middle? That's what I think. I've talked about this, so I'm not going to go over that, but let me see if I have a okay, I do have something here. So this is one that we'd been practicing with a diamond, but let's get down here. So one reason why I make my rulers is because it's important to make sure that you really do have a good square. So the mini ruler has this little 4-inch corner square on it that I really like. And to me, you need to check all 4 sides of everything, not just one side of what you're doing. On the Grande, we have the bigger 9-inch. So if your piece is bigger than 4, then the Grande works for the bigger sections. So when you come in here and make a cut, you really need to check all 4 sides. So this strip is already cut. So of course you're going to do a cleanup cut. Maybe I can just do a cleanup cut here. So let's say that this is your bolt of your piece of fabric that you bought. You need to make sure that you always have a good cleanup cut. So I would use the Grande. If it does have a fold on it, I make sure that I have a line that goes across the fold. And remember, even a line is a thickness. So if you're using the top part of the line, use all of the top. If you're using the bottom part of the line, use all of the bottom. In other words, don't have the top part of the line here and the bottom part of the line on the fold there. Make sure they're the same. Okay? So you do what we call a cleanup cut off of the edge of your fabric. Just like that. And then once I have made a cut, I don't want to move my fabric. So I like to cut on a smaller board so that I can actually move it and not move my fabric. So let's say that I want this to be 3 inches. So then I'm just going to move it over, and I line up my 3-inch line. Once again, here I'm looking at the fold, making sure that this is good and this is good. And now I'm going to cut here. So that's going to give me 3 sides that should be good. And it's only a good 90 when these corners, a square is a 90, and the only way you can have that 90 is when this and this make the 90 and this and this. So that's called keeping it square. And then if I have a cleanup cut, I don't ever, I shouldn't say ever, 99.9% of the time, I do not put the edge of my ruler up here at the beginning. You saw me do it with the dragonfly, but that's very rare. I always want to push it out and actually line it up, the line with my fabric edge, and then the line with my fabric edge. And then I get to make that cut. And then once again, you can see why it's important to have a mat that moves. This one's a little bit big. Mine that I have is, that I use all the time, is a little bit smaller. Okay, so now if this is 3, I have to come in here and I have to check all 4 sides. Now, like I said, I don't like to start with my ruler. I like a ruler to work with before I get to the fabric and after. So I'm actually going to move up on that. But I can still see with all of my lines that all 4 sides are good. And so there is your center squares right there, just like that. And that's very important because this is your size. The size of this square is what's going to make the sizing of all of your different units the size that you want. And since the edge here is going to be what you're sewing your strips to, you want to make sure that this is good because that's your guide when you sew your strips or your triangle units on. So making sure that you're starting with the best square that you can is very important. And that's a very good question. I think it was Mindy, wasn't it? I hope that helped.
Yeah.
Any other questions come in?
Yeah, I have another one here.
I have another one. Wilma, are we going to be working with diamonds in the next semester of Premium Club? Yes. I am working on some samples for Quilt Club Week for a double storm at sea, and I'm hoping to finish that within the next 2 weeks, and then I'm jumping in on my samples for my semester quilt. It's going to be in celebration of our 250 years, and there's at least 2 diamond shapes in it that we're using. I already have it all drawn out on paper and have my fabrics picked, so I'm really very excited to get started on it. But I'm really enjoying the double storm at sea for Quilt Club Week. So lots of excitement in my sewing room right now. And I have started my lesson plans of knowing what part of the quilt to teach and in what sequence and everything. So that's always exciting to start your lesson plans and your block plans for semester. It's fun to do. Hoping I have a lot of it to show you guys at the beginning. That's my plan anyway. More questions? And don't let the diamonds, I'm hoping that you're excited about doing the diamonds. We've had a lot of people that said, let's do more diamonds. And for those of you that are new or new to the diamonds, they're not an issue. They're not a problem. You'll do just fine with them. So, and especially in the teaching where we give you all the tips and hints and show you everything in the steps that you need to have the good results and make the quilt. Any last minute questions? Okay, make sure that you join us on the social medias, and Facebook is where I do some of my lives. And I think I told everybody when I did a live a couple of days ago that we were going to do a class Tuesday at 2, but we did it today, Wednesday at 2. So sorry if I confused some of you guys. We had some complications. We couldn't do it yesterday. So, but anyway, keep your stuff turned on so that you'll get notifications and get on our email list. That's the main way that we communicate with people, is through email. That's always your notifications and everything. So make sure you go to squareandasquare.com or .net and sign up for your emails. And if you're interested in the carnival kit in those colors or any of these, make sure you get those in just as soon as you can, because they'll be gone very soon. And I probably won't be showing this one again. Like I said, it's going home with a grandson. Anything else? All right, we'll see you down the patchwork path. And remember, you can become the piecer you've always dreamed of. Do we have a question?
We do have a question.
Oh, we have a last minute question. Okay, Angela, what books and rulers do I need to get started? Excellent question. I would say that you start with the original ruler, and the little book that comes packaged with it is called the Quick and Easy book. And then if you can, get the black book 1 reference book. That looks like this. This is the one with your charts and your first 17 options. And Steve, do we have like a starter pack type thing?
Just type in starter on the website.
Go to squareandsquare.com and in the search bar just put starter and it will pop up. And I think you can save.
You can get that and either ruler.
So you can get your reference book and you can choose the mini or the small ruler or the original. Or can they choose a grande?
No, not in that one.
Not in that one, okay. And I think it saves you $5?
Or 7, I think.
5 or 7. Anyway, it's got some savings on there when you get those together. All right, and remember, if you have other questions anytime, we have the Quilt Text Hotline. We're happy to help. 817-713-2879. Go into the .net, squareandsquare.net for teaching and get more teaching and learn more. Party doesn't have to be over when I sign off here now. I'll be waiting for you over there at .net, okay?